Jake Miller hated spring. Every year the same thing happened. His nose would itch, his eyes would water, and he'd sneeze about 50 times a day. His mom bought him every allergy medicine at the pharmacy, but nothing really worked. So there he was, sitting in 4th period biology class on a Tuesday afternoon, trying not to sneeze while Mrs. Bennett talked about photosynthesis. He felt it building. That tickle in his nose that meant trouble. Jake grabbed a tissue from his backpack and pressed it against his face. Maybe if he just held his breath for a minute, the feeling would go away. But it didn't. It got worse. His nose burned. His throat felt hot. Really hot. Like he'd swallowed something spicy. Then it happened. Jake sneezed. But instead of a normal sneeze, blue flames shot out of his mouth and nose. Actual fire. 3 feet of bright blue flames that roared across his desk and turned his biology textbook into a pile of black ash in seconds. The tissue in his hand disintegrated. His desk was scorched black. For one frozen second, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The whole classroom just stared. Then the fire alarms went off. Loud, screeching alarms that made everyone jump. Water sprayed from the ceiling sprinklers. Kids screamed. Chairs scraped across the floor as everyone scrambled away from Jake's desk. His best friend Tommy fell backward over his backpack trying to get away. Lisa Morris, who sat in front of him, actually climbed onto her desk. Everyone out. Now. Mrs. Bennett shouted, her voice shaking. She grabbed the fire extinguisher from the wall, but she didn't use it. She just stood there, staring at Jake with her mouth open. The fire was already gone. There was nothing left to put out. Just smoke and the smell of burned paper. Jake looked at his hands. They looked normal. He touched his face. Normal. But his mouth still felt warm, like he'd just drunk hot chocolate. He could taste something metallic on his tongue. I didn't mean to, Jake whispered. But nobody heard him over the alarms. The principal, Mr. Davis, ran into the classroom. Everyone outside. Fire drill procedures. He looked at the burned desk, then at Jake, then at Mrs. Bennett. What happened here? Jake. Mrs. Bennett couldn't finish the sentence. She just pointed. By the time the fire trucks arrived, Jake was sitting in the principal's office, soaking wet from the sprinklers. His mom was on her way. The school nurse took his temperature 3 times because she didn't believe the thermometer. It said 98.6 degrees. Perfectly normal. But nothing about this was normal. Tommy had filmed the whole thing on his phone. Of course he had. Tommy filmed everything. By the time Jake's mom arrived at the school, the video was already online. By dinner time it had 10,000 views. By midnight it was on the news. Local news first, then national. By morning, the whole world had seen 12-year-old Jake Miller sneeze fire in biology class. That's when the government showed up. Black SUVs. Serious people in dark suits. They had badges that said Department of Homeland Security, and faces that meant business. They told Jake's parents that it was for everyone's safety. They needed to run some tests. Just to make sure Jake wasn't dangerous. Just to understand what happened. They took Jake and his family to a facility outside the city. It looked like a hospital, but it felt like a prison. White walls. Armed guards. Cameras everywhere. Scientists in lab coats poked and prodded Jake for 2 days straight. Blood tests. X-rays. MRI scans. They put him in a special room and asked him to sneeze again. He did. More blue flames. They measured the temperature. Over 2,000 degrees. Hot enough to melt steel. But Jake didn't feel burned. His mouth didn't hurt. His skin was fine. We don't understand it, one scientist told another. Jake heard them talking through the door. There's nothing in his biology that explains this. No chemical reaction. No fuel source. It shouldn't be possible. But it was possible. Because Jake could do it again. And again. Whenever he wanted. He just had to think about sneezing and the fire came. Blue flames that could burn through almost anything. On the second night, Jake couldn't sleep. He sat in his room, they called it a room but it was more like a cell, and wondered if his life would ever be normal again. He wondered if he'd see his friends again. If he'd go back to school. If people would be afraid of him forever. That's when every computer, every phone, every screen in the facility turned on at once. A message appeared. The same message in every language on every device in the world. We are coming for the flame bearer. Nobody knew who sent it. Nobody knew what it meant. But 3 words stood out to everyone who read it, especially to Jake sitting alone in his room. We are coming. The military detected them first. Objects entering Earth's atmosphere. Big objects. Moving slowly. Too slowly to be meteors. Too organic to be spaceships. Radar showed 12 separate signatures, each one massive, each one heading toward major cities around the globe. Jake watched it happen on the television in his secure room. Every news channel showed the same thing. The sky splitting open. Something coming through the clouds. Something alive. They were dragons. Not the fairy tale kind. Not the movie kind. These were real. Each one was as big as a skyscraper. Their scales caught the sunlight and reflected it back in colors that didn't exist in nature. Colors that hurt to look at, beautiful and terrible at the same time. Some were deep blue like the ocean at midnight. Others were red like molten metal. One was silver and seemed to shimmer like starlight itself. They had wings that stretched for hundreds of feet. When they flew, the wind from their wings shook buildings and bent trees. Their eyes glowed. Their claws could crush cars. And when they roared, the sound echoed for miles. People panicked. Cities evacuated. The military scrambled jets. Tanks rolled into streets. World leaders disappeared into bunkers. Everyone thought the same thing. This is it. This is how the world ends. But the dragons didn't attack. They just landed. One in New York. One in London. One in Tokyo. One in every major capital city across the world. They folded their wings and waited. Like they had all the time in the universe. The largest dragon landed in Geneva, right in front of the United Nations building. This one was different from the others. Older. Its scales were deep crimson with veins of gold running through them. Scars covered its body, old wounds from battles fought long ago. When it looked at the gathered soldiers and diplomats, its eyes held something that looked almost like sadness. "I am Thornax," the dragon said. And everyone heard it. Not through speakers or microphones. The voice just appeared in their heads, speaking every language at once. In English. In Spanish. In Mandarin. In Arabic. Every person on Earth heard those words in their own language perfectly clear. "We have waited 10,000 years for this day." World leaders gathered quickly. The President of the United States. The Secretary General of the UN. Prime ministers and presidents from every nation. They stood behind barriers with armed guards, facing the massive dragon. Some of them shook. Others tried to look brave. None of them knew what to say. Thornax spoke again. His voice was old and deep, like thunder rolling across mountains. "Long ago my kind traveled the stars. We were few but we were mighty. We understood that one day we would need allies. Friends who shared our spirit. Our fire. So we seeded 12 worlds with our essence. 12 different species. We gave them our gift and waited to see which would awaken." Jake leaned closer to the television screen. His heart pounded. He knew somehow that this was about him. 11 species rejected the gift, Thornax continued. They feared it, suppressed it, chose logic over passion, safety over fire. They failed the test. But humans? The dragon's eyes seemed to look through the cameras, through the screens, directly at everyone watching. Humans embraced the flame. After 10,000 years, the fire has finally awakened in your kind. The UN Secretary General stepped forward, his voice amplified through speakers. "What do you want from us?" "We want the flame bearer." The boy called Jake Miller. "He must come with us. He must be trained. He is the first of your kind to awaken fully, but he will not be the last. Your species is changing, evolving. We must teach him to control the fire before it consumes him." Jake's mom grabbed his hand. She was there in the room with him along with his dad. They'd been separated for 2 days but reunited when the dragons arrived. His mom's hand was shaking. "They want you," she whispered. "Absolutely not," the president's voice came through the television. She stood tall, facing the dragon without backing down. "We don't hand over children. Not to anyone. Not for any reason." Thornax tilted his massive head. "You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. The boy has our essence inside him. He belongs with us. We are not asking permission. We are explaining courtesy. And we're refusing," another world leader said. "Jake Miller is a citizen of Earth. He stays on Earth." The dragon's eyes glowed brighter. Smoke curled from his nostrils. "Your species has courage. Good. You will need it. But courage without wisdom is foolishness. The boy needs training. Without it, his power will grow wild. Dangerous. He could hurt people he loves. Burn cities without meaning to. The fire must be controlled." "Then teach us how to control it here," the president said. "Impossible. The training requires centuries of knowledge. Places where fire cannot harm. Methods your world has never seen." The standoff lasted for 3 long minutes. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The dragon and the world leaders just stared at each other. Finally Thornax spoke again. His voice was quieter but somehow more frightening. I give humanity 3 days. Bring Jake Miller to us willingly and he will be treated with honor. Refuse and we will take him by force. Choose wisely. Our patience is vast, but it is not infinite. Then all 12 dragons took to the sky at once. The wind from their wings shattered windows for blocks. They flew upward, circling the planet like ancient satellites, visible from everywhere on Earth. The countdown had begun. The second day after the dragons arrived, Thornax did something unexpected. He asked to speak privately with a small group of world leaders. No weapons. No armies. Just conversation. The president, along with leaders from China, Russia, India, and the European Union, agreed to meet him in a secure location, an empty aircraft hangar in Nevada, far from any cities. Jake watched the live feed with his parents. The government had moved them to a different facility, one with better accommodations. They weren't prisoners anymore exactly. But they weren't free either. Thornax folded his massive wings and lowered his head so he could look at the human leaders eye to eye. When he spoke, his voice was tired. Sad even. You deserve the truth, the dragon said. The whole truth. Not just about the boy. About everything. He told them about the Concordance. It was an alliance of alien civilizations that controlled most of the galaxy. Hundreds of species working together under one rule, logic above all else. They believed emotions were dangerous. Creativity was wasteful. Art, music, passion, love, these were considered primitive evolutionary mistakes that intelligent species should eliminate. They are efficient, Thornax explained. Cold. Calculating. They have created a galaxy where everything is predictable. Where nothing is wasted. Where every being serves a purpose assigned by computers and algorithms. That doesn't sound so bad, one of the leaders said carefully. Thornax's eyes flashed. Doesn't it? They have erased 100 species who refuse to conform. Not through war. Through something worse. They call it correction. They reprogram entire populations. Change their brains. Remove the parts that make them unique. Turn them into obedient, logical drones who never question. Never dream. Never rebel. The room went silent. My kind, dragons, we are creatures of fire and passion. We create. We feel. We refuse to be controlled. For that, the Concordance has hunted us for 3,000 years. We once numbered in the millions. Now we are 12. 12 dragons left in the entire universe. Jake felt his chest tighten. Well, just 12 of these magnificent creatures remained. We need allies, Thornax continued. We need a species that shares our fire. Our defiance. Our refusal to be tamed. That is why we seeded 12 worlds. We searched for partners. And finally, after so long, humans have awakened. The president leaned forward. But Jake is just one kid. How does one 12-year-old boy change anything? He is not just one. That's when the reports started coming in. Reports that had been classified, hidden from the public. But Thornax had known. Somehow he had known. In Phoenix, Arizona, 16-year-old Lily Campbell had been arguing with her older brother about whose turn it was to do the dishes. She got angry, really angry, and flames burst from her hands. Not like Jake's sneeze. These were controlled flames, dancing between her fingers like living creatures. Her brother recorded it before she could stop him. The video was already spreading online before the government could contain it. In Boston, a college student named Ryan Foster walked into a burning building to save his neighbor's cat. Firefighters tried to stop him, but he went in anyway. He walked out 10 minutes later, completely unharmed, holding a terrified cat. His clothes were scorched. His hair was singed. But his skin didn't have a single burn. The fire hadn't hurt him at all. In Seattle, Beth Turner was sitting in her bedroom doing homework when she started floating. Actually floating. 3 feet off the ground. She screamed, which made her roommate burst into the room. They both stared as Beth hovered there, suspended in midair, unable to come down for almost an hour. And there were more. Dozens more. Reports flooding in from every continent. People manifesting abilities they shouldn't have. Fire. Heat resistance. Flight. Strength beyond what humans should possess. Scientists worked frantically to understand it. They found something in the DNA. Something that had always been there, dormant, waiting. Something that was now activating across the entire human population. Not everyone. Maybe 1 in a million. But with 8 billion people on Earth, that meant thousands of humans were changing. The world didn't know what to do with this information. Some people celebrated. Others panicked. Religious leaders called it divine intervention. Scientists called it evolution. Everyone had an opinion. That's when the Concordance made contact. Their message was different from Thornax's. It came through radio telescopes, through satellites, through every communication device humans had pointed at space. It was cold, clinical. No emotion in the words at all. We are the Concordance. We maintain order in the galaxy. We have detected genetic abnormalities in your species. These abnormalities are dangerous and must be corrected. Surrender all affected individuals for treatment. You have 72 hours to comply. Failure to comply will result in total quarantine. No trade. No contact. No technology sharing. Earth will be isolated from galactic civilization until you eliminate the abnormality yourselves. Jake's dad turned off the television. They want to change you. Change all of you. Take away whatever makes you special. They want to take away what makes us human, Jake said quietly. His mom hugged him tight. They can't have you. I don't care what they threaten. They can't have any of you. But the choice wasn't that simple. The Concordance offered technology. Medical advances that could cure diseases. Energy solutions that could end poverty. Access to thousands of alien civilizations. All humanity had to do was surrender the people who could breathe fire. The people who were different. Some governments wanted to accept the deal. Some wanted to fight. The world was splitting apart and Jake was at the center of it all. Thornax's 3-day deadline was almost up. The Concordance's deadline was just beginning. And Jake Miller, 12-year-old kid from Riverside Middle School, had to decide what happened next. Jake couldn't sleep. For 3 nights straight, he'd lain awake in his room at the facility, listening to his parents argue in hushed voices in the next room. His mom wanted to run. Take Jake somewhere remote, somewhere the dragons and the Concordance couldn't find them. His dad said there was nowhere to hide anymore. The whole world was watching. On the 4th morning, Jake made his decision. He walked past the guards, they didn't try to stop him anymore, and found the communication center. A dozen people sat at computers monitoring news feeds from around the world. They all looked exhausted. One of them, a woman named Officer Hayes, looked up when Jake entered. "Hey kid. You shouldn't be in here." "I need to send a message," Jake said. "To Thornax. Can you do that?" Hayes studied his face for a long moment. Then she nodded and pulled up a chair. "What do you want to say?" Jake took a deep breath. "Tell him I'll go. But not as a prisoner. As Earth's representative. I'll learn what he wants to teach me, but I represent humanity. All of us. Not just the ones who can breathe fire." Hayes typed quickly. "You sure about this, Jake?" "No," he admitted. "But someone has to decide. And it's my fire that started all this. It should be my choice." The message went out. Thornax responded within minutes. One word, agreed. But Jake wasn't done. He asked Hayes to help him record a video. Something short. Something honest. She set up a camera and Jake sat in front of it looking like exactly what he was. A scared 12-year-old kid trying to do something brave. "My name is Jake Miller," he began. "I'm the kid who sneezed fire in biology class. I'm the reason dragons came to Earth. I'm the reason the Concordance is threatening us. And I'm going with Thornax." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I know people are scared. I'm scared too. But I've been thinking about something. The Concordance wants us to give up the people who are different. They want us to be logical. Predictable. Safe. They're offering us technology and medicine and all these amazing things. And all we have to do is change. Stop being emotional. Stop being creative. Stop being us." Jake leaned closer to the camera. "But the dragons chose us because we're emotional. Because we're creative. Because we don't make sense sometimes. They saw something in humans worth saving. Something worth waiting 10,000 years for. Maybe we should see what's in them worth fighting for." He stood up. "I'm going to learn from Thornax. I'm going to control this fire inside me. And I'm going to show both the dragons and the Concordance what humans are really made of. If anyone else out there has these powers, if you're scared and don't know what to do, you're not alone. We're in this together." Hayes uploaded the video before anyone could stop her. It spread across the internet like wildfire, actual wildfire. Within an hour, 10 million views. By evening, it was all anyone talked about. And people responded. Lily Campbell in Phoenix recorded her own video, flames dancing in her palms. "I'm with Jake. I volunteer." Ryan Foster in Boston, the guy who'd walked through fire, posted a simple message, "Count me in." Beth Turner in Seattle filmed herself hovering above her bed. "If this is what makes us human, then I'm proud to be human." Thousands more came forward. People who'd been hiding their abilities, terrified of being discovered. A mechanic in Detroit who could melt metal with his hands. A teacher in Miami who could see heat signatures. A construction worker in Denver who could lift a car over his head. They all volunteered. They all wanted to train with the dragons. But the world's governments couldn't agree on what to do. Half wanted to accept the Concordance's offer. The technology they promised could save millions of lives. And hunger. Cure diseases. Was that worth sacrificing a few thousand people who could breathe fire? The other half said no. Giving in to the Concordance meant giving up freedom. Today it was the fire breathers. Tomorrow it would be artists, then musicians, then anyone who didn't fit their idea of logical. Where did it end? The arguments raged in the United Nations, in parliaments and congresses around the world, on news shows and social media. The world was splitting in half and neither side would budge. That's when the Concordance arrived. Not with 12 dragons. With hundreds of ships. Sleek, silver vessels that surrounded Earth like a metal cage. They didn't attack. They just waited. A physical blockade. No one in. No one out. A message came through: time is up. Surrender the abnormal humans or accept permanent isolation. Thornax and the other 11 dragons rose to meet them. They looked tiny compared to the Concordance fleet. 12 ancient creatures against hundreds of advanced warships. But they didn't back down. Thornax's voice echoed across every communication channel on Earth. Humanity, you face a choice. The Concordance offers safety, order, a place in their galaxy. But you will have to change who you are. Suppress what makes you unique. Or you can stand with us. Embrace your fire, your passion, your chaos. It will be dangerous. You will be alone. But you will be free. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was softer. I have lived for 5,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched stars die. But I have never seen a species face this choice with such courage. Whatever you decide, I honor you for it. The world held its breath. The President of the United States stood before cameras with leaders from every nation beside her. We've made our decision, she said. Jake watched from his room, his parents on either side of him, all three of them holding hands. This was it. The moment that would define humanity's future. Safety or freedom. Logic or fire. The Concordance or the dragons. The President looked directly into the camera. We choose freedom. The moment the President declared Earth's choice, the Concordance fleet responded. Not with understanding. Not with negotiation. With force. 100 silver warships powered up their weapons, preparing to fire on the 12 dragons that stood between them and Earth. The world watched in horror. This was it. The end of everything. But Jake wasn't watching anymore. He was moving. He'd left the facility the moment the President finished speaking. Officer Hayes had driven him herself, breaking about 50 traffic laws to get him to the United Nations building in New York. Thornax waited there, along with world leaders who'd come to witness what happened next. Jake walked into that assembly hall and every conversation stopped. His parents followed behind him, along with hundreds of other awakened humans who'd traveled from across the globe. Lily Campbell was there, flames flickering around her fingers. Ryan Foster stood tall, his skin still marked with scorch marks that wouldn't fade. Beth Turner floated a few inches off the ground without even trying anymore. Jake Miller, Thornax said, his voice echoing through the chamber. You have chosen to stand with us. We all have, Jake corrected, gesturing to the crowd of humans behind him. But before this goes any further, before people die, you need to understand something. We're not choosing dragons over the Concordance. We're choosing ourselves. He stepped forward into the center of the room. Can I show you something? Thornax nodded. Jake closed his eyes and breathed fire. But this time he controlled it, shaped it. He'd been practicing in secret, learning what he could do. The flames formed images in the air, pictures made of blue fire that moved and danced like living memories. He showed Earth's history. Not the clean version from textbooks. The real version. Humans huddling in caves, afraid of the dark. Then discovering fire and using it to survive. Fighting wars. Making mistakes. Creating art. Building cities. Destroying them. Starting over. Always starting over. He showed a mother singing to her baby. A soldier crying over his fallen friend. An artist painting at 3 in the morning because inspiration wouldn't let him sleep. A scientist working for decades on a problem everyone said was impossible. The Concordance calls emotions a flaw, Jake said, his voice carrying through the chamber. They say creativity is wasteful. That passion is primitive. But look at what our emotions made us. Our feelings turned us into poets and fighters. Into explorers and dreamers. We walked on the moon because we were curious. We wrote symphonies because we felt joy and sadness and wanted to share it. We fought for freedom because we believed everyone deserved it. The fire images shifted, showing humans helping each other during disasters, building schools, planting gardens, holding hands across divides. If being emotional is wrong, then I'm proud to be wrong. If dreaming is a flaw, then I'll dream until the day I die. And if the concordants can't understand that, then they'll never understand humanity. Jake let the flames fade. The room was silent. Then the president started clapping. Slowly at first, then others joined. Within seconds, the entire assembly was on their feet, applauding a 12-year-old boy who just told the galaxy to accept humans as they were or leave them alone. That's when the concordants attacked. Their weapons fired, beams of pure energy designed to pierce dragon scales and burn them from existence. But Thornax and the other 11 dragons were ready. They scattered, moving with grace that shouldn't have been possible for creatures their size. They dodged and weaved through the barrage, buying time. Now, Thornax roared. The awakened humans lifted into the sky. Hundreds of them, rising on columns of fire or simply floating through sheer will. They trained for 3 days, just 3 days, but it was enough to learn the basics. Enough to fight. The concordants had never faced anything like it. Their ships were designed to fight predictable enemies. Logical enemies. But humans weren't logical. They didn't follow patterns. They improvised. Kevin Walsh, a firefighter from Chicago, flew straight at a concordance ship and melted through its hull with his bare hands. The ship's systems couldn't compute what was happening. Their sensor said a single, unarmed human had just breached their armor. Impossible. Amy Rodriguez, a high school chemistry teacher, created superheated air currents that sent 3 ships spinning out of control. David Chin, a video game designer, used his newfound strength to throw debris with pinpoint accuracy, targeting weak points he identified by pure instinct. And Jake flew alongside Thornax, breathing fire that merged with the dragon's flames, creating a wall of heat that no concordance weapon could penetrate. The battle lasted 20 minutes. That's all. 20 minutes of chaos, of humans and dragons fighting together with no real strategy except survive and protect. No careful planning. No logical formations. Just heart and courage and the stubborn human refusal to give up. The Concordance fleet retreated. They pulled back beyond the moon, their ships damaged, their computers unable to predict what these illogical creatures would do next. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Concordance didn't understand their enemy. And what you don't understand, you fear. A week later, Jake stood on the launch platform outside Thornax's ship, not a metal vessel but a living transport grown from dragon essence. His parents hugged him tight. His mom was crying. His dad tried not to. "You'll come back?" his mom asked. "Eventually," Jake promised. "But right now the galaxy needs to see what we can do." 400 humans joined him. They would travel with the dragons, learning, training, showing the universe that humanity wouldn't be controlled or corrected or made to fit someone else's idea of perfect. Jake climbed onto Thornax's back. The dragon's scales were warm beneath him. As they lifted into the sky, Jake looked down at Earth, beautiful, messy, emotional Earth, and smiled. The Concordance wanted order. Dragons wanted freedom. Humans? Humans wanted to live their own way, make their own mistakes, dream their own dreams. And now, with fire in their hearts and dragons at their side, they'd show the entire galaxy what that meant. The adventure was just beginning.